Most people think buying a beach house is just a lifestyle flex. But in a handful of countries, that same purchase can open the door to legal residency and in some cases a second passport. These are 6 countries where beach property still doubles as a residency strategy in 2026, with the real numbers, the hidden catches, and the one option that may be the strongest overall play. Starting in the Mediterranean. Greece. Greece has been one of the most talked about residency by investment destinations in Europe for years, and for good reason. The Greek Golden Visa program originally launched with a flat €250,000 property threshold. Buy a property at that level, get a 5-year renewable residency permit. Simple, beautiful, and very popular. But here is what a lot of people do not realize. Greece restructured its thresholds and they are not uniform anymore. In high-demand areas like Athens, Thessaloniki, Mykonos, and Santorini, the minimum investment jumped significantly. Depending on the zone, you could be looking at €400,000 or even up to €800,000 for the standard Golden Visa route. That is a massive increase from the original program. But this is where Greece gets interesting, because the expensive headline number is not the whole story. However, and this is the part most channels skip, there are still special categories where the €250,000 threshold applies. These include properties that are being converted from commercial to residential use, listed heritage buildings, and properties in certain lower demand areas. Some of those lower demand zones happen to include gorgeous coastal towns that most tourists have never even heard of. Think the Peloponnese coastline, parts of Crete away from the main tourist strips, or islands in the Dodecanese chain that have stunning beaches without Mykonos price tags. So what does this actually look like in practice? You find a coastal property in one of these qualifying zones, you invest €250,000, and you receive a residence permit valid for 5 years. It is renewable as long as you maintain ownership. You do not need to live in Greece full-time. There is no minimum stay requirement for renewal, which makes it one of the most flexible golden visas in Europe. Now the tax picture. Greece introduced a flat 7% income tax rate for foreign retirees who transfer their tax residence, but that is a separate program. For Golden Visa holders who are not Greek tax residents, rental income from your property will be taxed in Greece at progressive rates. You will want a local accountant. The risks? Greek bureaucracy is legendary and not in a good way. Property transactions can move slowly. Title verification is essential because land registry records in some areas are incomplete. Insurance and building checks matter too, especially in wildfire or seismic risk zones. But the biggest thing to know is this. The Greek Golden Visa does not directly lead to citizenship on its own. Greek citizenship requires actual physical residency, 7 years of it, plus language and integration requirements. So this is a residency play, not a passport play, unless you are willing to commit to living there long-term. Greece is flexible, but still European priced. The next country gives you permanent residency from day one, and beach property at a very different price point. Panama. One of the most overlooked residency by investment destinations in the Americas, Panama's qualified investor visa, sometimes called the Friendly Nations Visa, depending on your nationality, allows property-based residency with a minimum real estate investment of $300,000. That was raised from the previous threshold, but $300,000 for a residence permit in a country with no income tax on foreign earned income is still a remarkable deal. Panama's Pacific coast has stunning beach areas. The Azuero Peninsula, Padasi, Coronado, and the Pearl Islands are all developing rapidly, but still affordable compared to Caribbean equivalents. You can find beachfront condos and homes within that $300,000 range, especially outside of Panama City. The residency is permanent from the start. You get a permanent residence permit, not a temporary one. After 5 years of holding permanent residency, you become eligible for Panamanian citizenship. That is a real passport play. Panama also uses the US dollar as its currency, which eliminates exchange rate risk for American investors and simplifies financial planning. Rental potential is decent and growing. Panama has been investing heavily in tourism infrastructure. The country's healthcare system, particularly in Panama City, is excellent by regional standards, with several JCI-accredited hospitals. Now the catch I mentioned. Panama has restrictions in its constitution regarding foreign ownership of island and coastal property. Foreigners cannot own property within 10 kilometers of the national border, and there are specific rules about titled versus rights of possession land. A significant amount of beachfront land in Panama is untitled or held under rights of possession, which is a weaker form of ownership. You absolutely need a lawyer who specializes in Panamanian real estate. Do not skip this. I have heard horror stories from investors who bought rights of possession land thinking they had full title. Climate risk is moderate. Panama sits below the hurricane belt, which is a significant advantage over most Caribbean destinations. However, Pacific Coast properties face rainy seasons, and you should budget for tropical maintenance costs. Panama gives you permanence, but the next country drops the entry cost even lower, if you can handle the extra complexity. Colombia. Specifically Colombia's investment visa. You can obtain a resident visa in Colombia by purchasing property valued at 350 minimum monthly wages or higher. That threshold fluctuates with the minimum wage, but has historically translated to roughly $100,000 to $130,000 US. That is astonishingly low by global standards. Colombia's Caribbean coast is genuinely world-class. Cartagena and Santa Marta get the attention, but areas like Baru, the Rosario Islands, Palomino, and Taganga offer incredible beach properties at prices that would be unthinkable in Europe or North America. The visa you receive is typically a migrant visa, valid for 3 years and renewable. After 5 years of continuous residence, you can apply for permanent residency. After 5 years of permanent residency, citizenship becomes possible, and Colombia does allow dual citizenship. So this is both a lifestyle play and a long-term passport strategy. Rental yields in Cartagena and Santa Marta can be strong, driven by both international tourism and growing domestic demand. Colombian tax rules require you to pay taxes on Colombian source income if you are a tax resident, which you become after spending 183 days or more in the country. The risks here are real, and you need eyes wide open. Currency volatility is significant. The Colombian peso can swing dramatically against the dollar, which affects both your property value and your rental income in real terms. Title fraud exists. Use a reputable attorney registered with the local bar association. Some coastal areas have infrastructure limitations, including water supply and road access issues during the rainy season. Healthcare in major cities is excellent and affordable, but in smaller coastal towns it can be limited. And here is something nobody mentions. Certain protected coastal and ecological zones have restrictions on development and foreign ownership. If the property you want sits within a protected area, the rules change completely. Do your due diligence before you fall in love with a listing. If you are comparing scouting trips across several of these markets, Expedia and Kiwi links are below for checking flight routes, hotels, and multi-city options before visiting properties in person. So far, these have mostly been residency routes. Now the game changes, because the next country can turn beach property into citizenship itself. Turkey, the country that sits at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Turkey's citizenship by investment program requires a minimum real estate purchase of $400,000 US, not residency. Citizenship. You buy property worth at least $400,000, maintain ownership for 3 years, and you receive Turkish citizenship, including a passport. That is one of the fastest and most direct property-to-passport pipelines in the world. Turkey's coastline is absurd. The Aegean coast, the Mediterranean coast, and the Turquoise coast offer world-class beaches with developed infrastructure. Antalya, Bodrum, Fethiye, and Kaz are popular with both international buyers and the massive domestic tourism market. Finding a $400,000 property on or near the beach is entirely realistic in these areas. The Turkish passport itself offers visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to over 100 countries. Turkish tax residency taxes worldwide income, but there are planning strategies available for those who maintain their primary tax home elsewhere. Rental yields in Turkey's coastal tourism zones can be very attractive, especially in Antalya and Bodrum, which have strong summer tourism demand. Property management companies catering to foreign investors are well established. Risks include currency volatility, as the Turkish lira has experienced significant depreciation in recent years. Property values denominated in lira may have increased on paper, but stayed flat or declined in dollar terms. You will want your purchase contract structured carefully. Seismic risk is real in parts of Turkey, so earthquake insurance and building code compliance matter enormously. The political landscape also introduces a degree of uncertainty that more stable jurisdictions do not have. Foreign ownership is straightforward for most nationalities, though there are restrictions in military zones and certain border areas. Always verify with a local attorney before committing. For deeper country comparisons, updated residency rules, and property route breakdowns, Horizon Insider is linked below. Turkey is the passport play. The next country is the tax play, the United Arab Emirates. Specifically Dubai, and to a lesser extent Abu Dhabi and Ras Al Khaimah. The UAE offers a property investor visa when you purchase real estate valued at 750,000 dirhams or more, which is roughly 200,000 US dollars. For a 10-year golden visa, the threshold is 2 million dirhams, approximately $545,000. These are not citizenship programs. The UAE does not offer citizenship through investment, but the residency benefits are substantial. 0 personal income tax, 0 capital gains tax, world-class infrastructure, a global hub location with direct flights to essentially everywhere. The rental market in Dubai is one of the most dynamic in the world. Beach property in Dubai ranges from apartments in Jumeirah Beach Residence to villas on the Palm. Ras Al Khaimah offers more affordable coastal options with a growing luxury tourism sector. The catches? The UAE is expensive to live in even without income taxes. Service charges, cooling costs, and maintenance fees on coastal properties can be significant. Healthcare is excellent but expensive without employer-provided insurance. And the cultural and legal environment is fundamentally different from Western countries. Familiarize yourself with local laws before you commit. The property investor visa requires maintaining ownership. If you sell, you lose the visa. And while the UAE has made strides in freehold ownership for foreigners, it is restricted to designated areas. You cannot buy just anywhere. For property scouting trips, Saili eSIM is useful for landing with mobile data already active instead of relying on airport SIM cards or roaming charges. Link below. And the final country blends beach property, European Union residency, and tax planning better than almost anywhere else on this list. Cyprus. Cyprus offers permanent residency through property investment, with a minimum purchase of 300,000 euros plus VAT. The property must be purchased from a developer as a first sale. This grants you permanent residency in an European Union country, which means access to the Schengen area is simplified though not automatic, and you gain the right to live in a country with a highly favorable tax regime. Cyprus has 340 days of sunshine a year. The coastline is Mediterranean perfection. Paphos, Limassol, and Ayia Napa all have established property markets with strong rental demand. The corporate tax rate in Cyprus is 12.5%. There is no inheritance tax, no wealth tax, and new tax residents can claim exemptions on dividends and interest income. For business owners and investors, the tax planning advantages are genuine. Citizenship is available after 7 years of residency, with specific conditions including language requirements and physical presence. Cyprus does allow dual citizenship. Foreign ownership is generally permitted, but non-European Union nationals face a limit on the size of property they can purchase, typically 1 residential property. Military zone restrictions also apply. The risks include the ongoing division of the island. The northern part is under Turkish military control, and property rights there are legally complex. Buy only in the Republic of Cyprus and verify title deeds thoroughly. Construction quality varies, and you should insist on independent building surveys. So which country is the strongest overall option? For a direct passport route, Turkey is the standout. For European Union residency and tax planning, Cyprus is hard to ignore. For a lower-cost beach residency play, Colombia may be the most underrated. But the real answer depends on the goal. Residency, citizenship, rental income, tax planning, and lifestyle are not the same thing. A beach property only becomes a smart residency strategy when the legal route, the numbers, and the location all line up. Otherwise, it is just an expensive holiday home with immigration paperwork attached. So which one would you actually consider? Greece, Panama, Colombia, Turkey, the UAE, or Cyprus? Drop it in the comments.